This is a book review of DCeased. It's from DCComics and it's by Tom Taylor, Trevor Hairsine, or Hairsine, I'm not certain, Stefano Gaudiano, again my apologies if I said the name wrong, and Rain Beredo or Beredo. It's 160 pages, fully in colour. Now obviously this is a hardback edition and includes the stories DCeased issue 1 to 6 and DCeased A Good Day to Die issue 1. Now this book came out in April 2020 and well, I'm just going to quickly go through and discuss it. This starts very similar to quite a lot of zombies. Now they do turn around and say that they're not zombies. However, they are zombies basically. But it's got this sort of zombie look straight away. What happens is this anti-life equation goes slightly wrong. Darkseid has been obsessed with this anti-life equation for various reasons. Well, it doesn't work out, unfortunately. And what happens? One of the characters is transported back to Earth with this equation that basically becomes anti-life or death. Literally, it is death spreading very rapidly, but it's spread via the internet initially. Now, it would have been really brilliant if it was just the internet. I think that would have been the best premise. However, it then started to get further where it was literally blood, the splatter of blood, every sort of things like that, that made it slightly more problematic for me. But however, that's a minor issue. But that was the basic story. And of course, the superheroes are involved. Obviously, other people are involved as well. There's obviously all the general public who are involved and get infected because obviously they've all got their mobile phones, their computers, like I'm just doing my recording. Everyone is connected to the internet, or certainly 600 million, as it says here. And of course, there's cities, nations, undersea kingdoms, paradise islands, one by one, they all fall to this monstrous new threat. And it's great, this start scene. Obviously, like, I assume that's Batman. Looks like Batman. You've got this lovely, again, this lovely DCeased, because it's a big clue on the front. The characters, some of the characters that become zombies. Unless, of course, it's just purely for advertising purposes and it throws you off. And I'm not going to say either way. But certainly, many of the characters in this book, some do turn in, your favourite characters, turn into zombies. Now, some of them, or whatever you want to call them, infected. But some, of course, don't. And they obviously battle. And there's lots of twists and turns. There's magic involved in this. They try, obviously, all means to stop this magic, time travel, technology, a whole range of different things. The heroes, the villains, everyone gets together. Now, you've got the credits there, and you've obviously got Batman fighting there. It's quite Batman-centric, certainly at the start of the book. So you obviously got Darkseid there, and then doesn't go well for him. And then, of course, slightly what's known initial. This is the initial scene. You've got to suddenly, obviously, all rampaging there. You've got Superman realises something's happening, and obviously problems there. And then he says, John, obviously Lois, and he heads off to save, obviously. But I'm not saying he makes that assumption. There's no real reason why he should suddenly make assumption that the blood or the internet or whatever, anything is suddenly causing this. Obviously, loads of people go mass rampage, but obviously he's got very good hearing. Maybe he can hear it on the, obviously, the internet, which probably wouldn't be a good thing. Or he certainly hears it. So that's the trouble. He has to obviously change his vision so he doesn't get infected himself. Because it would be very easy for Superman to get infected. So you've got that storyline there. And that's the problem, actually, is how do you quarantine? Obviously, Superman is one of the most powerful characters. How do you quarantine these powerful characters? Now, it doesn't matter if, say, it doesn't matter, of course, if you love Mr. Terrific, say, Mr. Terrific, great character, but or Hawkgirl, or whatever, certain characters, then you could, Harley Quinn, great characters, but it wouldn't change the universe if they were infected. However, if you have Flash, etc., Superman, obviously all the major players, Dr. Fate comes to mind. There's loads of characters in the DC who can cause some serious damage because of the powers they possess. Now, Batman is, again, is very useful as a character. I love the way he disconnects. I love it. It doesn't do a sort of basic internet. He has to activate the Manor's electrical magnetic pulse. Why didn't he just do what I would do? I just pull the plug out. That would be easier. Just pull the cable. You've disconnected the internet. I'd just throw my router into the bin. Oh no, I'm just going to blast off an electromagnetic pulse. So simple. Maybe he's got, obviously living in a mansion, slightly more confused, problematic, but surely he's got one little router, hasn't he? pull the cable. Anyway, you got, obviously has problems straight away, Batman. And so does Aquaman. I think that this is where the blood bit comes in. And also another slight thing, there is actually a scene where I think that the animals are infected as well. Though I'm always a bit what's named when it comes to zombie productions, where you've got, I love this one with Poison Ivy as well. You've got great Poison Ivy, Harley Quinn as well. You've got the Birds of Prey. You've got loads of great characters. And it's the blood aspect of it slightly annoyed me because the blood would be spattered everywhere. All animals would be infected. So ants, everything. Literally, you would have zombie ants, you would have zombie foxes, zombie whatever. I mean, it would be really problematic. Viruses, bacteria, all of it potentially could be infected by this virus. And that would be very problematic. Fungus, and so on and so on. Now, I love some of these scenes. I mean, this is always things I love with DC Comics, which they do very well. I think this is one thing I think they do probably better than Marvel, personally. I love Marvel Comics immensely, but they really do this sort of just sitting around a campfire. There's not many scenes like this in Marvel, to my mind. Maybe there are now, maybe there's more. I haven't followed every single comic. I'm certain people will point out lots of comics that do all this, but they really, DC, I always feel, certainly have a more family sort of issues in the storyline. They're always whizzing off to go to Smallville. There's a lot of that. And there's a great scene where Superman has to go into the office of his workplace. Obviously, and he's, I won't be able to find it, but he goes off and he has to go and obviously save all the people he can, and then also kill all the ones that he can't. Obviously, the ones that all of his friends, and it's that sadness that's into the story. In this sort of thing, please keep my family safe, he says to Ollie, Diana, and all those sort of characters. So it's something that I just don't feel that you ever have sometimes. And it's, but you've got all the fish things. Now, I don't know, maybe then the fish are not infected. You've got the sharks attacking, but the sharks will just attack anyway. But I suppose they've probably been also turned into, I think maybe. But it would be a problem. Why aren't they infected? Cats should be infected, dogs would be infected, and so on and so on. And this is the trouble with Walking Dead as well. I was thinking Walking Dead, I was sitting there thinking, well, surely they would be infected and that would spread and spread and spread. And you would have problems. But I love Mira's great character here. And you've also got, like, say, this great where he goes back to Smallville with his mum. There's some covers here where you've got here with Sergeant Rock. Now, it's slightly a bit of a, obviously Batman, and but however, also Wonder Woman and obviously Superman there. But again, these covers quite often don't match the story. There's no Sergeant Rock turning up in this book. Now you've got some characters. Again, this is another character you wouldn't want to be infected. Atom. Or this other character. It's just Captain Atom. Now, there's certain characters you would try your utmost to sort of isolate, quarantine, to make certain they're not infected by it. And the other characters go off and do things, the ones that are not going to cause immense problems to the world. Also, this character, I think this is, I'm not going to spoil that in any shape or form. That's a great scene. But you've got lots of your favourite characters having problems. Virtually everyone turns up in this. You've got Cyborg, you've got Kid Flash, you've got Robin, you've got Bardi, you've got Mr. Miracle, and all those sort of characters. I think it's just absolutely great. John Constantine as well, and so on and so on, all the way through the book. There's magic involved, there's time travel elements, there's everything. Literally, the kitchen sink has been thrown into this book. And I think it's absolutely good. I've been just reading the Marvel one, the zombie one, and I think Marvel Zombies. And I enjoyed it when it first came out, I must admit. But it's certainly, you can see the weakness compared with this, because this one really is, this is more like a zombie film. This definitely is more like a zombie film. If you don't like zombie films, you're probably going to hate this. But you've got the characters here, all sort of, even Lex Luthor, they're all involved and concerned with this. My city's basically being destroyed, kind of. It's personal at this point. And also you've got people splitting off. You've got Poison Ivy and all these got characters off doing their own thing. And also some characters that I must admit I'm really quite surprised about that would be infected. But again, this is a problem. that you've got, how far do you stretch it? If you stretch it to plants, all that sort of, imagine zombie grass, zombie trees, all those sort of things. It'd be pretty bad. You're walking along and suddenly a tree tries to munch you, kind of thing. You wouldn't like it. Day of the Triffids, sort of, maybe not. I just love this story. Just absolutely. I thought it was a completely brilliant book from start to finish. I read it in about under an hour. It's one of those books you sort of read, what's going to happen, X thing. And it would make a brilliant film, would make a brilliant animation. I would love to see maybe a TV series like Dead Set. I love Dead Set. Dead Set was brilliant. There was a Brazilian one recently I watched as well, similar to Dead Set. That was superb. Love that. Also, of course, other zombie productions that are always pretty amazing on Netflix and others. And would make a brilliant program. But I just loved it. What else is in this? Also, obviously, the story is really good and it builds up to a really dramatic finale, which is great. And of course, always the problem with these stories is you start thinking, well, what would happen if it, went further? And that's an issue. It is something. I suppose this is similar to, in many ways, I just suddenly thought to myself, another thing that's a bit similar to, like Rain. You might not have seen it. Maybe it's a Danish production that's very good, where the characters get infected just by the rain. And it's a similar sort of thing where, like the blood, rain. Now, it would be complicated if rain was a source of infection. I mean, a certain thing, that would be a problem. However, finished book, 160 pages, really superb all the way through. And then at the end, you've got these brilliant, lovely bonus material. We obviously got some various pages there, obviously variant covers, absolutely variant covers there. And there's not clues who gets infected, who doesn't get infected, because the storyline is all, doesn't match. The covers quite often, I think, slightly confusing in the sense that they show scenes that actually things don't happen in the way you think from these. So, not saying anything about who gets infected. And then you got I love this as well. It's back as the DCeased pitch and the series outline. Thoroughly enjoyable. Worth reading. Once you've read the book, obviously, read the book and then get to the back, because then it's got going for battle rage and blah, blah, blah. It tells you also, obviously, Superman, all the various characters talking about Batman, Superman, Lois, etc. And it's obviously things would change. And it's interesting. Some of it, I thought, why did they change that? Because you think, well, that would have made it better. But of course, the creator is going to look at it and say, we know what, that might work better in the long run. Sometimes what you think is a great idea. I mean, here you've got blah, 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 Mirror Watches, Aqualad. Now, I don't actually remember. And you've got zombie mentioned in here, so clearly that was the intention, zombie. You've got zombie, blah, blah, blah. And it's just absolutely brilliant. Yeah. Absolutely love this book. Thoroughly enjoy it. It's going to be one of those ones that I will pick up. Like I sit down and watch good old Dawn of the Dead, the slow one, brilliant classic George Romero one. I love that one. And also, of course, the fast one. I do hate fast zombies though. I prefer slow zombies because I always think, well, at least we could potentially win. Fast ones, 28 days later kind of thing. Don't know. Bit problematic, I would have thought. But at least the slow ones are much better in that respect. But I loved it. So, excellent book. Thoroughly, totally recommended.